Hi, hello, and welcome to another video in C language. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build the kaprekar number. First of all, before we're going to write anything in C language, let us first know what is the kaprekar number. Kaprekar number is just a number that contains from 4 digits, from 1000 up to 999. Up to 9,999 or 4 nines. For instance, if you take any number, kaprekar, and set it equal to kaprekar, for instance, any number, let's say from this range, from 1000 to 99,999, any number, for instance, let us go with this number, 5463. This number, if it's returned to the value of kaprekar, so kaprekar number, to know it if it's a kaprekar number or not, 563, or just to know if number, in this case, just to know if number is a kaprekar number, we have to go through some process, and the last number that we're going to get, it has to be equal to 6174. Let me explain that first. First of all, as I said here, the number is equal to this number, 5,004 and 6 and 3. If we sort this number in order way, or from the smaller to the greater, and again we reverse that sorting to from the greater to the smaller. Let me show you here. Let me take first this value and set at the kaprekar to check it if it's a kaprekar number or not. So kaprekar equal to 5463. After that, we have to get two numbers. Number 1, and it is equal to the number in sorted way from the smaller to the great number, 3456. And number 2, it is the number or the kaprekar number that's sorted from the greater number to the smaller number, 6543. Then, to check if this number it is a kaprekar or not, we have to do this kaprekar and set it equal to number 2 minus number 1. And we're going to go through this process until we're going to find that kaprekar equal to this number 6174. If it's equal to this number, now that is a kaprekar number. If we didn't reach this number, we're going to say this is not a kaprekar number, okay? Or just how many calculations to get to these numbers. Let me show you here. Kaprekar equal to number 2, and it is 6543 minus 3456, and it's going to get 3087. The same thing, kaprekar is going to be equal, and remember here is going to be an update for the number 1 and number 2, and that just by number 1 becomes number 0, 3 and 7 8, and number 2 it's updated to this value from the greater number to the smaller number. And again we do the subtraction between these two numbers, and 8730 subtracting out of it the 378, and again we're going to get the kaprekar number equal to 8, 3, 5, and 2, and so on. Number 1 is going to update without typing that. Kaprekar equal the number sorted from the greater number to the smaller number, 8, 5, 3, 2, subtract 2, 3, 5, 8, and again is going to equal to 6, 1, 7, 4. And if we done the same process in here like this and say kaprekar again, kaprekar equal to 7641 minus 1467 is going to get the same number, and it's going to loop like this forever. Like this forever. So what we have to do after writing the program, we have to stop it when we reach 6174. Up to now, I think it's understandable what is the kaprekar number, and this is a few steps that we're going to take. First of all, we need a number from the user. Second, we're going to take the kaprekar number or take the number or return it as a kaprekar number. Then we're going to sort the numbers like this in both directions, from the smaller to the greater and from the greater to the smaller, and we're going to go subtracting each time until we reach this number here. Now, before I'm going to sort this, you have to memorize, or you have to know that the machine is not able to sort any numbers like the brain of a human being. So we have to give it such as instructions to could the machine know that the 5 is greater than the 4. So how to do that? We need to separate each item or each element in this number or in the digit into a list separator, like getting each number in a position. For instance, we need to separate 5 element, and then the 4 as an element, then the 6, then the 3 in a list. Then we're going to compare each element or each number with the number that's following it. We're going to compare 5 with 4, then we're going to compare 5 with this, 4 with 6, and so on. Here, if 5 is smaller than the 4, we need to swap the places of them. As you see here that the 5 is really smaller than greater than the 4. So in this case we need to swap the 4 with the 5. So like this. What I'm doing here is just the bubble sorting. I'm showing you the way how it works. Everything we're going to dive into the code, but you have to know this. After swapping it, the program is going to compare these two elements. So 5 is truly smaller than the 6, so nothing is going to happen. Here, no need to swap. Again, the 3 is smaller than the 6, so we have to swap it again, like this. And the loop is going to loop multiple times in the numbers here. For instance, here we have 4 numbers, so it's going to repeat 3 times per each number, and it is 12 times. It's going to repeat 12 times here. So that's it, how we're going to do that in a loop to calculate. Now I'm going to jump here into dev C++. I already created a folder called kaprekar.c, and first of all I'm going to call some libraries. Include stdio standard output input output dot h. Then we're going to call the lib library, or the standard library, or lib.lib. Then we're going to define the main function, and it is integer main. We could pass here integer argv, then char, and use the pointer and say args argv. I think here C, if I could remember. Inside of here, I'm going to create a function kaprekar function. I'm going to return 0, like this. After that, I'm going to jump to the next line and create this function kaprekar, like this. Let me first of all up here define the function. I'll go with integer kaprekar, like this. And here inside the kaprekar function, we need to do these steps that we've done here. And this here, we're going first of all to get a number from the user and read it. So I'll go here, first of all defining some variables, kaprekar and number that we're going to get from the user, like this. So print I'll go with scanf used and for calling the number, like this. Now, as I said here, we need to separate these numbers into a list. So let's create a list, integer list, and the list we have here 4 numbers, or we know that the list has to contain 4 numbers. So we're going to insert number 4 inside of the list. After that, we need to do something or repeat the process multiple times until we reach this number. But before that, we're going to take the kaprekar number or give the kaprekar number a value of number. So here we're going to do that. Kaprekar equal number. After that, as I said, we're going to do this process multiple times until we reach the 6174. So we're going to do some process. That's process while kaprekar it's not equal to number, and number it is going to be not equal to the number, not equal to 6174, or you could just take number because the number each time updates the value of kaprekar. So inside of a loop, we're going to do this. After taking the value of a number, kaprekar number, we know that the kaprekar is is a fixed value. So here is going to be number. After doing the number, sorting the number and getting the number 1 and number 2, we need to calculate the kaprekar. Then again, number is going to take the value of 3087 and calculate the number 1 and number 2, then getting the kaprekar number. Again, number is going to take the value of 8355 52, or the value of kaprekar. Each time is going to take the value of kaprekar to get out of it the number 1 and number 2, like this. I hope you get it. Let's jump to here, and let's say number take the value of kaprekar each time, kaprekar. Easy. And remember here that I separate each item into and put it or append it in a list. So we're going to decompose and use that into a function. Before I use that into a function, let me here comment this out and show you how it's going to work if we want just to write everything inside the kaprekar number. But I love to separate the thing, like decomposing and sorting, because if I want to use them again in my code, it's going to be more easy for me just by calling them. Now, decompose function, or how to decompose it, we're going to create an integer I for a loop and say for this integer, while I is smaller than the 4, than the length of the list, or of the list here, I want list of I each time is going to equal number and getting the remainder of it on 10. Again, for more information, this we kind of calculating the remainder of an equation. This is just for remainder. You could just check it out, how to reverse a number. I already done videos on that in Python and also in C. In list I, then each time I want to get it off the last number, so we're going to divide that integer by 10. You might already familiar with Python that we do double like this, 2 divisions just to get at the floating point, but now we are defining as an integer, so no need to do that. That's just in Python. Then we're going to increment the I each time. So this is how going to decompose it. Nothing hard. Up to now we done that. So I'm going now to cut everything in here, removing this, and inside of here I'm going to give it like number, decomposing number into a list like this. Again, I'm going to call this function decompose, open it, and define these 2 things, number and also integer of list of 4 numbers like this. Then passing inside of it these lines of code that we already created, or already we have written them. Now I think everything working. If you want to print that, just go with print and print the numbers, but you need to do that. Of course, you need to do a for loop to print them. Let me do that. For I equal to 0, I smaller than the 4, then increment the I. And here we're going to do print f and go with d, or list d equal d, and here we're going to do this. Like this. Now if we compile it, we have something wrong here, and it is in that in kaprekar, integer kaprekar. This is a function, and also we have something wrong inside the kaprekar number. or the kaprekar function. Let me take a look at it. Kind of there is something wrong. We forget to put this at the end. Now after compiling it, I'll run it. It's given to enter the number. Let's just take the same number, and as you see here, let me print a line after each time it's going to print like this. So let's compile it. I'll run it again. 564 like this, and as you see here, it's given us, or each position takes a value 3, 6, 4, 5 in a list, and that's what we're looking for. Now no need to print that. I'll go at the top in here. The same thing, I'm going to define the decompose function. Decompose function. I remember that I give it two values, number and list, like this. After that, we need to sort them. So we're going to use the sort function. What we're going to sort, we're going to sort the list. The same thing, we could just write in it here inside of the kaprekar number, but I'm going just to define it after that, after the decompose function. And you could just copy the code and insert it there. Integer and list, that's 4. Let me copy this and go at the top and put it here. Like this. Now, to sort this, I'm going to define I, G, and a min value that are going to take in each iteration is going to take that value and compare it with the previous value, or compare it with the next value. So inside of here, I'll go with the for loop and say from a equal to 0, from the start point, a should be smaller than or equal to 3, the length, subtracting the last one, then increment the I from me, and each time let the min value, the minimum value, takes the value of I. Again, the inner loop is going to start from G, and it's going to take the value of I plus 1, the next value, and also G is going to be smaller than the 4 or 2. Let me do it here, 3, and here 2 instead of 3, because we need just the half, just taking 2 points. But remember, also we are using just the 4 numbers, so the half of the list, then adding 1 to it to compare it each time with the last number in the iteration. Then we're going to increment G and do an if statement. If the list G, the numbers G, smaller than the numbers in E, or I'm sorry, in the min, that's going to take the value of I. What should we need? We need G, min, the min value, it take the value of G if it's smaller than the min. So here, just we want the min always take the smaller value in the list. So if the G is smaller than the min, we have to return it back to this position, like this. And if the min number not equal to the I, what we're going to do, we're going here to use the temporary value to take that and swap them. How to do that? We're going to define an integer, temp, and here temp is going to take the value of eyes like this. That list of eyes is going to take the value of the list in my numbers, or min numbers, I'm sorry. Again, list of min is going to take the temporary value. Temporary value is going each time take the temporary value, and if it's the minimum number, it's not equal to the I. That's it. Up to now we are good with the sorting, and now after sorting them, after sorting the sorting the list in here, jumping from this position to 5 to 3, 4, 5, 6. After sorting them, we need to get number 1 or calculate the number 1 and number 2. So inside of a loop here, we're going to define two numbers, in 1 and in 2. Then we're going to calculate them by putting them each one in a separate function and say calculate in 1, and give it, we're going to calculate inside of a list or through the list. Again here, calculate them in 2, and it is calculate into using the list, and calculate kaprekar equal into subtracting in 1 like this. Then lastly, print in the result, print f like this, and do for instance d equal d minus d, and give it a line here. And we need kaprekar, and also we need in 2 and in 1 like this. I think everything is clear, but there is something kaprekar. I don't know why this in green. It should be displaying a different color. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be executing later. I don't know why, but print f d and d kaprekar I don't know why is that message in green color, or it should be. It has to display like this. Whatever. Now let us work with these two functions. So we're going to jump here, pause them, and the same thing. We're going to use integer and run this. And this is also an integer list of 4 numbers. The same thing we're going to do with this. And here we are. Integer list. After that, we need just to calculate. So in 1, first of all, define some values in here. It is in 1 and in 2, so let's in 1, and also we're going to loop, so we need the I, and let the in 1 takes the value of the list, take the first value in the list, it is 0. Then we're going to loop from I equals 0, from the first number, where the in1 takes the first value in the list, so we have to start with the second value, it is 1. Then we're going to say I smaller or equal to the last value, and it is 3, because we know all, if we done 4 here, we have to be smaller, absolutely smaller than the 4, but if we add the equal, we need to do the 3 like this. Then increment the I, and here we could print, before printing we could just calculate our in1, and that by just doing this, a few steps to get into in1, and it is in1, multiply 10 by 10, then each time add to it the list I, and it's going to loop until the process is going to complete, and after that it's going to return in1 to the function like this. The same thing we're going to do with in2, but in this case we're going to sort them in the reverse, or from the greater to the smaller. Then we have to take the last value in the list, and it is 3. Then we're going to take for loop and let the I to be the last value in the list, and it is 2 minus 1, because we started with the 3. Then we're going to take the I, and we see here I'm not defining, I didn't define the into and the I, so now it's going to work. And while I is greater than 0, what you're going to do, you're going to increment the I to loop, then print or calculate into by putting the same as in1. But this case, I'm sorry, here this increment, not increment, this increment, and here I'm adding the list of I's like this. The return into like this. Up to now everything is okay, but I don't know why printf showing like this in a green color. I know now. I have to add in at the end. Now I'm going to compile this and see if there's a mistake or anything. I think that there ain't no mistake. Let me run this. Let me enter this. And as you see here, I think that there is a mistake. Let me look out for it. Char const char. I don't know where, but let me just take a look here at the code and see if there is a mistake, or I messed up something when I was writing the code. There is here an integer. Let me say an integer. Let me define these two functions at the top. Like this, and let's see here and here. This is into like this. Let me rerun it and see. Let me recheck, do a few checks. Calculating the kaprekar number, and it is into minus in1. Calculate in1 list into. Let me run it now. I don't know where the mistake is, but there is a mistake. Of course there is a mistake. There's the list taking the value of 3, and here the list taking the value of 1. I equal to 1, then doing this, Absolutely correct. And for the second one, taking the last value. After that, I equal to 2. Here equal to 3 to 0. Let's see now. 3, it's calculated, it is true, but it is just a part of it. 0, and here. I think that there is a mistake with these two functions in here. Let me copy all of it. I opened this function in Visual Studio Code. Let me run it and see where is the mistakes. It is in void, and let me type this, then we get this. So in integer, warning, parameter names without types, and the same thing for here, parameter names without types, in function declaration voiceover. Let me see where. I think that here I have to go with integer, and the same thing for here, integer 4, integer, and the list contains 4 numbers, and the same thing for here and here, integer 4 numbers. Now I think should work. Now they give us just to enter the number. Let's just remove this and go with 5, 4, 6, 3, and they print for us this 3, 0, 8, 7, and then doing this, but still not working as we expect it to be. Still the same problem, but we're going to change that in a minute. Sort list, get into 2 numbers, list, and then the list, then into, subtracting the in1, and do that while kaprekar it's not equal to this number. Now we're getting our result as we expected. The problem was in here, in this function, because we was putting the equal sign before the exclamation mark. That was the problem, but now it's working perfect. As you see here, if we just zoom in, you're going to see that number equal to 5, 4, 6, 3, and doing the same process that I explained to you at the first of the video here in this piece of paper, or in this sheet. The same process, then calculating all of that, but we need kaprekar equal, in this case 6174. It stopped the process and returned it back to 0 and exists out of the code or out of the program. That's it. If you want to add a more check to this, instead of just right away after reaching to this number you need to add another check, just close this. Let me go to kaprekar and say why kaprekar not equal to 0 and kaprekar also not equal to number. Then again run it and enter the same number, and here we are, we get the same process again. So 6174, and also here 6174, we get the kaprekar number twice in this iteration or in this executing. So that's it up to now. The source code, all of it, you're going to find it in the description with the explanation in more details, how this processing here, because if I come to explain each thing, it's going to take me a bit of time, and I have to explain the bubble sort, how it work. Then I have to explain the sort, decomposing, how it work, and the calculating. In the calculating, by the way, it just the same as here. We're just reversing this and regather them. In this decompose, we follow this division or Euclidean division, and this in gathering the numbers, we use the multiplication and then adding that. If you notice here that this is the result of the division of on 10 in 1. So if you remember the Euclidean division, we know that the number we divide on, in this case 10, multiply by the result, and it is in this case in 1, then adding to it the remainder, we get the number that we at the first step dividing it by 10. And the same thing for here, and just in this case we are incrementing from the smaller number to the greater, or our list is from the greater number to the smaller. In this case, in the second one, it is from the smaller one to the greater. If you want just to check it out, just print it in here. Instead of a loop, do print F and do D and go list, or print into like this, and let me rerun it. Like this. I think I have to add a little space to each in, like this. Then let's run it again. And as you see here, each time is adding a number. So in the first I, it is equal to 65. Then adding to it the third number in the list, then the fourth number in the list, and so on in each iteration. The same thing for the incrementation up here in the calcal in 1. So up to now, I think everything is okay and understood. If you didn't get anything, just comment in the box below, or leave me a message on my social media in Instagram, Facebook, or on our website. We provide a form there. You could just text me from there by filling the forms. And up to now, I think everything is okay. Thanks for watching, and peace out.